to the Varside Spurs pubcast, coming to you all the way from the Varside Arms, which technically is the only pub open in the UK at the moment. And I'm hoping you're all joining us for a cheeky little beverage on Monday Club. And if you're listening to us tomorrow morning at around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I hope you're not joining us for a cheeky little beer, because that's a little bit earlier unless you're at the airport where there aren't any rules and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Anyway, I'm Jamie. And joining us at our table tonight for a cheeky little drink and a substantial meal, we have got Andy. How you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. So what was that about airports? You can do what you want.
Yeah, you can do what you want at the airport. If you get to the airport at 4 a.m, you can have a beer.
Oh.
Especially if you sat there with your kids. But it's frowned upon if you have a beer at 4 a.m. somewhere when you're with your kids. So, the airport, there's no rules. You can do whatever you want.
But when you come out of the airport, you then have to go to a hotel, don't you? And it costs you £1,700 to quarantine yourself.
Oh, yeah, it's well worth it. But, you can get beers and food delivered in from Deliveroo and that. So it's true, a holiday, isn't it?
Just live in the hotel, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, actually, you sold it to me, really. It sounds good, yeah.
I was just thinking about that this evening, actually. It would be great if you could go into quarantine at the Premier Inn just by Gatwick. If you had the whole run of the hotel where you had the restaurant, you had the bar, you've obviously got your room and that, but it'll be a bit shit, if you're just stuck in your own room. And for 10 days, it's a long old slog, isn't it? But, not as long a slog as supporting Spurs and putting up with the shite that we've had to recently and during our lifetime. But, the further negativity is going to come anyway. So, let's get a bit of optimism in the room, in the pub. And we're joined by Wazza. How you doing, Waz?
Yeah, fucking shit, mate. Absolutely shit.
All right, well, fuck that. Let's get on to go on, mate.
I'm all right. I'm all right, mate. Top of the world, top draw. New week, new beginning. Twitter has been an absolute love fest today. I mean, everyone has been so happy and joyous and prepared to talk about all the positives and just look forward. It's been unbelievable. It's been I'm lying, of course. It's been an absolute shit fest on Twitter.
You might be on a different Twitter than me.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, my Twitter involves just going on that and then just having a look, saying change my mind and logging off again. I don't actually spend any time on there at the moment. It's really not worth it.
It's funny you should say that about Twitter, because about, I'd say probably around the summer transfer window, I muted loads of words like Levy, bald see you next Tuesday, bald nonce, and this and that. And I've seen so many, and Jose out and all of that. And I've seen so many threads today where it's like, you've muted this word, you've muted this word, you've muted this word. And you just keep on muting them. It's just the same old drivel time and time again. But, I'm pretty sure we're going to come on to this. But just introducing our special guest tonight, we're joined by a man that is involved in more sports on a day-to-day basis than I've got pants in my drawer at home. It's coming all the way from Sky Sports Towers. We've got Paul Prenderville. How you doing, Paul? Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for inviting me. And everyone was a bit negative to start with, so I'll just say I'm really happy to be here. I'm not going to say anything about Tottenham until we have to. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Excellent. I mean, we can completely sack off, all the football chat, and we can talk about darts and more interesting things like netball and American football and that. But thanks for coming on. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm surprised our friend of the show, Mr. Wayne Mardle, didn't give you any words to put you off coming on here. So it shows he must have really. He actually said it was the highlight of last year coming on our pod. Forget the RVB. Benefit exhibition, last February. Wayne said this was the highlight of his life last year. So
but we're talking about 2020, Jay. It's 2020. I mean,
what year is it?
His highlight of 2020. I mean, it's not much. It's not really much of a benchmark to go against, really.
Well, the thing
I did ask Wayne, and I think actually when you first contacted me, Jamie, which was a fair bit ago now, I'm not always in my personal Twitter account. I'm in various ones that I use for work. And I do remember saying to Mardle, what were the lads like? And he said, yeah, it was a good laugh. He said it was a good laugh. It was a couple of hours well spent, is what he said to me. So live up to that if you can. We might have been playing better at the time as well, it might be said.
Yeah, exactly. But
we were.
That's great feedback, and we're glad you've joined us. Anyway, since we were last Monday, we had our FA Cup disaster against Everton, and I think obviously because that game was on last Wednesday, wasn't it? Things have obviously changed so much, and I think we're probably, unless anyone's got anything specific they want to say about that absolute shite fest.
Really?
I can see Andy. All right, excellent. Well, let's gloss over that because that was in the past. We've all moved on, apart from 99% of Twitter. They're still banging on about it. But if there's anything that sort of crops up that links in with the Man City game and the Everton game against sort of formations, choice of players, etc., we can sort of wheel it all into one. Okay, so let's move on to the Man City game that was on Saturday, 5:30. I mean, obviously, following the woeful Everton performance with the piss ball defending, we needed to come out and make some sort of definite statement of intent. And we did certainly make a statement of intent of some sort, but it wasn't the one we were looking for, sadly, was it? We had a complete shake-up of the back four again with Sanchez, Dyer, Tanganga, Ben Davies. And, this back four hadn't started together all season. And from my perspective, it's unclear why we keep mucking around with the back four, because surely we need to have some sort of consistency at the back there that we can build on from game to game. And is this one of the reasons for, part of our defensive frailties at the moment? Just summarising the game quickly. Kane hit the post from the best free kick he's taken for ages in the first, I think it was the first sort of 15 minutes, wasn't it? Then 1-0 down, Rodrigo scored a penalty, a harsh penalty in my opinion. From my perspective, Gundogan, or whatever his name is, clearly made the most of the contact. But I'm not sure how he managed to throw his leg back from the contact, which was actually on the side of his leg. I think he's milked that. Anyway, Hugo guessed the right way on the penalty, but bizarrely dived with his right arm sliding along the surface of the pitch and just happened to make the penalty look a lot better than it was because it hit the top corner. We went 2-0 down, Gundogan again. Hugo collapsed at the near post like a sack of spuds, which, appears to be one of Hugo's frailties, that whenever the ball is down by his feet or it's near post, he completely collapses. I know someone that went to the football uni on the Isle of Wight a couple of years ago, and ex-Spurs star Tony Parks went out to coach the kids there one day and said that this is a major problem with Hugo Lloris at the near post, and whenever the ball goes near the near post, he just collapses. They've rigged his brain up to various certain machines and they can't work out why he does it. It's just one of his things. Anyway, next on my notes, we went 3-0 down, Gundogan again. I've got written down, fucking hell, Sanchez was Bambi on ice. That was bizarre. It was like somebody was fishing in the stand there, caught his lip and just dragged him down onto the floor, and he just bizarrely was just wiggling around on the floor whilst Gundogan just pushed the ball in. It was, there weren't many positives from my perspective, but, I can see you're itching and twitching and you're desperate to say something or you're desperate to get out of here. But, what were your thoughts on the game was?
Both, I think. So, I think you're right about the defence, and it, when you saw the lineup, that was the thing that was confusing. Really, was why we've changed the defence again. No Rodon, and he's not picked for the Europa League side, which means that he's not playing Thursday. Rodon, he can't play. He's not eligible to play Thursday, but he was not someone that was considered for Saturday's to start Saturday's game, which means that Thursday it will be Toby and someone, to Toby and maybe Sanchez or whatever. Now, I don't understand. Like as you say, we rotated and like Tanganga can play in there if as well, but obviously Mourinho fancies Tanganga more as a right back than a centre back. I guess that was the frustrating thing. The goals were pretty poor. The penalty, as you say, I couldn't understand. Like, there's been a lot of analysis as happened on Twitter of the replays and freeze frames and everything to show that actually Gundogan he connects with Højbjerg first, and then it's that slip. So that second movement is that slip, isn't it? And that's where his foot goes backward and Højbjerg then connects with his foot. Gundogan then throws himself down, gets a penalty, and like you're right about Hugo, because when you see it back, the first time you see it, you think, oh, unlucky. But when you see it back, you see actually that what he's, rather than trying to push the ball away, to try and save it and push the ball away, he's trying to flick the ball upwards or hit the ball upwards or something. I don't know what he's trying to do. It's just, he's in a really, at the moment, I think he's in a really bad place, Hugo. And we're suffering from it. I don't know if he's in a bad place because we keep changing the defence. I've no idea. He looks devoid of confidence. And if you take that back to the Everton game, I know we didn't want to talk about that too much, but at least 3 of the goals in the Everton game were poor. You know, the Calvert-Lewin goal, the 2 that went across his body at the near post, very overcompensated. You know, he's not in a good place at the moment. But do you put in heart? You know,
no.
Who knows?
No, you don't do that.
I can see Paul shaking his head, almost to the extent that it might fall off. What were your thoughts on the Man City game, Paul?
Yeah, look, I think there are some games that you wouldn't mind going into when you've been running into the ground for 120 minutes. Manchester City away is not one of them. They're going to make you run. They're going to put you through the mill. So I think you touched on it with the back four. I don't think anybody would have guessed that back four beforehand. We all would have predicted a team, but I'd be staggered if anyone would have come up with that. And again, we said not to mention too much about the Everton game, but the errors are the same as far as Lloris is concerned. So that would be a concern for me. And I think the biggest sort of takeaway from it is, like, what has gone so wrong that players who were sort of fulcrums at the start of the season, like Lloris, who was having, like, by all accounts, one of his best seasons for us in a really long time. He was playing really, really well, but confidence seems to have collapsed right through the team. And look, I get it this year. This year's a lot like a championship year, I think, in the Premier League. You can win 3 games in a week or lose 3 games in a week. You know, Southampton were 4th 2 weeks ago. They're 12th now or something like that. So I think everything's magnified a little bit. But I think the one thing I keep coming back to, and it can be the only reason that I think he keeps changing the back four, is that they're desperate to have some pace in there, because we don't have pace in there. It can be the only reason that Toby Alderweireld is not playing as well, because like Lloris, his confidence seems to have just collapsed a little bit. And I think Tanganga is quick, Rodon's got pace, and Sanchez has got quick. And I think we're probably going to see a rotation of those guys until someone can nail down a starting spot, most probably alongside Dyer at the minute. But I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, Dyer is, he's an accident waiting to happen, isn't he? He's someone that seems to be low on confidence. And when we were doing well at the beginning of the season, the back four was Aurier, Toby, Dyer, and Reg, right? And that was it. That was your back four. And if there was an injury to, Reggie or whatever it was, or then Davies came in. Or on the other side, if Aurier, was injured, then Doherty came in. But you'd have 3 of the back 4 as a consistent, and we never really changed the centre backs. We were quite, we were solid as a unit. Lloris behind was solid, and we had the 2 pivots in front, which was Højbjerg and Sissoko, and that was working. Fuck what Jamie Redknapp says, and all of these people that, again, it's boring. I don't like fucking watching Souness. I don't like watching Spurs sit back and nick a win 1-0. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Now, we're not doing anything. We don't look solid at all.